So Tesla started releasing the version 13 of its full self-driving software to early testers, employees. Why do we care about this? Well, of course, longer term, Tesla has plans for full autonomy, so it's another step in that direction, but it's actually quite an important step because this is the stack. So, previously they were on version 12. Version 13, which should have a number of iterations, is what they plan on launching a robotaxi network with. That will be next year.
Thus, FSD, Tesla started giving early testers and staff members access to version 13 of its complete self-driving software. What makes this significant in any case, this is another step toward Tesla's long-term goal of complete autonomy. But since this is the stack, it's actually a rather crucial stage. They were on version 12 and they want to deploy a robotaxi network with version 13 next year, which should include several versions. What distinguishes this software launch from others? The main distinction is that you may begin at the park and it can change, allowing you to park where you want to go. In essence, you are experiencing for the first time the capabilities of an end-to-end drive. I feel like often, so to be clear, FSD right now is not perfect, right? And I don't have version 13, but on my car, there's eye tracking technology. There still are interventions is the summary point. And so I think often people say, well, okay, how are they able to launch when, I still have to take over in these specific scenarios or when it doesn't work in bad weather or something. And sure, I think the key thing that is maybe not talked about often enough is that they'll likely launch with remote operators. That's what Wio does. That's what Cruise did. So it doesn't have to be perfect at launch. It just has to be good enough such that you can sub in this remote operator system when you need to. And of course, the more you do that, the more complex it's going to be and the more costly it's going to be. So they probably want to reduce the amount of time that the remote human operators help the car. Yeah. So, we'll hear Sam's thoughts on wireless charging since we've talked about it a lot. So they unveiled wireless charging at the Cybercape event. It looks like for like future scale of this service, that makes sense. Cause then you don't need a human. The car just autonomously drives over a pad that gives it a full charge. And they unveiled like some, if you look at the specs of what they said, it looks like it would be a pretty impressive experience, although you won't be in the car experiencing it most likely for the robotaxi service. But I think at first they're just going to use the infrastructure that they have. So I expect this to be, humans charging the car, cleaning the car. Of course, in the future, like why not have Optimus do some of that work? But do they need that to launch in one city? Probably not. So they said that they're launching in Texas, in California. You could probably guess that, okay, it's maybe like the Anaheim, I'm kidding. Yeah. Like the Silicon Valley area broadly. And then Austin, I think it's another good point because I feel like that's also a point of confusion here because Tesla talks so much about, so much to the audience of owners about, well, you can sign your car up and actually you can make a good amount of money off of this service. I think that they're doing that because they want people to sign their cars up to meet peak demand. I don't think I don't think that's what I don't think every car, in the initial launch has to be a customer sign up car. I think they can use a small fleet of their own vehicles, but customer cars supplement it. So they want to get customers excited about it because they want that supplement. They want to make sure that the volume is there when they need it. But long term, this is a fleet model. So I think there'll be third-party companies. We've heard Tesla encourage these companies to sort of come about that own the cars and operate them for Tesla. And then Tesla keeps like a small fleet to themselves. Yeah. And it's like, let's remember the kind of current trends that have been happening for the past decade plus. It's like fewer young people want their license, ride hail has taken hold. So it's like, this kind of fits in with what's, I think, been happening for a while. And I also feel like the call out to owners is somewhat a call to entrepreneurs again, to start that fleet model. So it's like, okay, maybe you feel like you don't want to sign your car up, but maybe another person sees opportunity in this and they want to buy, 30 cars or something. So I feel like that's a part of it too. There's actually already pockets of people doing this. I saw on X, someone in Europe has a fleet of Teslas, and this is like their exact plan when, the service is available there. So I don't think it's too crazy of an idea. I think that there's already those people out there. It's just a matter of incentivizing them and getting like the logistics of the program in place for it to work. And I mean, if you think of the New York City taxi medallion model, often it's like a med holder and then a lot. One person holds multiple medallions, and that means multiple cars. So I think like it exists in history. We're in the ride hail space. Yeah. You don't quite see it operating that way today, but I mean, we saw Uber partnering with WeO. They're going to maintain and house cars for the first time. So I think that the ride hail players are wising up to that. This is kind of the future business model, and if they don't adapt, maybe they won't be around. So I think that we're seeing the early innings of it today with what WeO is doing. Well, it certainly seems like that might be WeO's plan. WeO launched their own service before deciding to partner with Uber. I believe that one of the reasons they may have done so is that they don't have a scaled fleet. So in order to provide customers with competitive service times, they probably want to supplement, a larger fleet. However, we've actually published a blog post that demonstrates that Tesla could undercut Uber's price a little if they were to launch with human drivers today, because as we know from Sam's work, the operating cost of an electric vehicle is already lower than that of a gas-powered vehicle. Additionally, Tesla has a nice verticalized structure that, in my opinion, allows for many advantages. So I believe that because Tesla is a vertically integrated manufacturer, they won't need to partner. Although I don't believe it's completely impossible, I do think it's improbable. I would be shocked. And it's not really Tesla's way. They're more of a do-it-yourself kind of. I think a couple things, like one, it depends on the market. We know that if you're an Asian consumer, you might be accustomed to like these super apps, and then like the user behavior there might be different, right? There could be different considerations for different markets, but I think the US is actually the most important market for ride hail because of the price ceiling that we have versus, in China, it costs maybe 30 cents per mile equivalent here. $2.00 a mile. It means, makes for a much more profitable service if you're launching here for taxis. CRW had originally planned to integrate some kind of delivery into their, future service with ride hail. I think they were doing that because they didn't have great utilization rate. And again, that was a fleet size issue from my perspective. So if Tesla is a vertically integrated manufacturer, which they are, they won't have that. That presumably might not be a problem for them. As you are probably aware, Uber's primary advantage at the moment is its drivers who are leaving. I think routing is difficult, yet you are aware of a large percentage of our